Hey there, Jignesh. Very happy to see that you have written some essays for us. Good work. Let's see your first set. Okay, what have you got for us? It's schools. Should they be more entertaining or should they educate? Let's see what you said. Schools are one of the best learning institutions, which helps the child transform into an adult. They helps to inculcate life values and skills into a growing child. While some people believe that schools should focus only on education, on the other hand, many people argue that they should be entertaining and focusing on activities. I completely agree with the latter statement and would explain my reasons below. All right, so Jignesh, there are some good things happening in this introduction. There are some problems, though, that we definitely need to deal with. Let's take a look at them one by one. Schools are one of the best learning institutions. Okay? That's first of all. Which help, that should be with no S, the child transform into an adult. It's an interesting statement because I know it sounds nice and you're like, yeah, okay, school is one of the best learning institutions. But my question, of course, is, well, are there other learning institutions that help a child transform into an adult? Probably not very many. But okay, that's fine. I mean, it's fine. They help to inculcate life values. You mean you here, not V, and skills into a grown child. This was fine, but you did have a problem. You were missing a comma somewhere. Let me look at it again. While some people believe that schools should focus only on education, comma, on the other hand, comma, many people argue they should be entertaining, focusing on activities. Completely agree with the latter statement and will explain my reasons below. When you write would here, it's almost as if you're saying theoretically you would do it, but you're not going to. Or theoretically, yeah, it's something you would like to do, but you've decided not to. So you don't need to write would here. Will is probably more appropriate. Okay. Careful here with few. Definitely clear up the difference between few and a few. A few is a positive number and few is almost none. So it has a negative meaning. So please choose wisely when you use few and little. Okay, so my personal suggestion here would be to play it safe and just use a word like some. So some researchers believe that schools should focus more on curriculum and not on subjects which help to grow the emotional quotient. Because it's kind of like, it's not a plant. I mean, you're not growing something, which helps to develop the emotional quotient of a child. For instance, there are schools, you could have had a comma here. There are schools in India which focus, no ES, on textbooks and examinations. Such education can only help a child to have curriculum-based knowledge and not the practical aspects of the world. Really, what do you mean? Explain it. This is a really interesting statement. You probably should support it. Education is necessary as it helps a country to have a literate population, which can help the people to take sound decisions. Why? Why should one be able to read and write in order to take sound decisions? How does literacy help in people creating sound decisions? So basically what you've done here is you've got a couple of really nice ideas, but you've just kind of left them hanging. You haven't developed them as fully as you should. And so it leaves the reader with some questions. Okay, and this is something I'd like you also to get in the habit of doing. When you write a statement like this, ask yourself these how, why, what do you mean type of questions. Okay, many researchers also believe that schools should be more entertaining because a child spends, children are not it, children are he or she. It is only for animals. So, because a child spends his or her major time in school, and if there are elective subjects which a child can't opt for, it can help a child to explore, into another dimension of an unknown subject. For example, research carried out in Oxford stated that students who choose elective subjects during their early days have a better, here, have better learning abilities. They become entrepreneurs and leaders. S. What do you mean they become entrepreneurs and a leader? One? They become one leader collectively? No. You mean they become entrepreneurs and leaders at an early age. Let's see. I have to say that I'm not really crazy about the way you've linked your arguments here. So, what are you telling me? You're telling me that if there are elective subjects, a child can look into an unknown subject, and you said that children who did this had better learning abilities, and they became entrepreneurs and leaders. I felt like all of this wasn't really clearly linked. It wasn't like you know what I felt like, Jignesh? I felt like you went from point A to point B to point C to point F, like Q. Like, you know, how does, like, better learning abilities, how does it have anything to do with becoming an entrepreneur and a leader? Do you know what I mean? So, maybe if you had said, I'm not really sure what you could have said, but I feel like the link here is kind of stretched and it's not like a clear link. All right, let's move on. I wholeheartedly believe that elective subjects such as music, painting, etc. should be a mandatory subject wherein, no comma, a child can explore his or her boundaries at an early stage. I also believe that schools and government should work to make it a mandatory practice to have an elective subject which will help children to grow. Okay, I didn't want that comma. The rest of it was fine. It was good overall. Some nice elements, but there were some areas in terms of development, in terms of the way you linked your ideas. I would probably say it's a coherence and cohesion issue where there's not like a clear link between each sentence. It's like, you know, think about like what a chain looks like. You've got link and link and link. These don't always link together. All right, but let's look at your second essay. Okay, enjoyable activities, better skills, and creativity. Let's see. Learning is important for a parent to bring up their child into the ever-competing world. Learning can be done by visualizing or by reading. This can help to improve the emotional quotient and intelligence quotient of a child. Furthermore, such activities can be executed by the means of reading or by incorporating learning into a joint activity. I totally agree with the latter statement and would present my views in the paragraphs below. All right, so there are a few problems here, Jignesh. Let's see. Okay, I don't know what you meant by visualizing. I really didn't know what you meant here. Did you mean by imagining things? By, you know, using their imagination? Because if you did, then visualizing you should know is something totally different. That's the first thing. And then, activities, okay, this was a little unclear. And then this, the latter statement. You didn't make a former and a latter statement for you to be able to say, oh, I agree with the latter. You made one statement. You say that these activities can be executed by reading or doing a joint activity. You're not do you know what I'm saying? You're saying either or. So to say by the latter, it doesn't make sense. It's not working. You're saying that either or is appropriate. So for you to say I agree with the latter, it's not like they're in contrast with each other. It's wrong. It's the wrong way to use this. I think what you're trying to say is that reading does not help, but doing an enjoyable activity does. It's not coming across because grammatically you've misunderstood how to use this construction. And again, I don't want you to use would here. It will be will. You're telling the person what's going to happen. You're not talking about something theoretically that potentially could have or, you know, might have happened but does not. So don't do that. Just say I will provide. All right, so moving on. Firstly, a child can learn at a very tender age by just watching his parents getting involved in activities, not the activities, activities, plain. For instance, a child can learn skills such as leadership and team player skills just by playing games such as cricket or football. Furthermore, games which involve a child in giving answers while playing the game will give better results than just reading it out to a child. Why, Jignesh? That's my question here. So, why can they learn leadership and team player skills? Why does this give better results than just reading? So, basically what you've done here is you've given me ideas. You've not given me any support whatsoever. So, this will absolutely affect your task response. You have to develop these. You have to ask yourself these questions at the end of each sentence. How, why, what do I mean? Explain it. Okay? These absolutely begged those questions, and you really missed a chance to support your arguments. Okay, moving on. Secondly, reading becomes quite monotonous after some time. Research carried out in Harvard states that reading can only help a child who has a mental ability to grab the information which is spoken by the reader. In addition, the learning becomes limited if compared with the activities carried out with a parent. Okay, what do you mean? Why? Explain it. Not another research, because research is uncountable. So what you could have said is another study by the Ministry of Child Care states that playing business games with parents can help the child to grow. No, to develop leadership skills. This could be very useful for countries which are developing, wherein they would require young entrepreneurs to step in and help the economy to generate jobs for others. Fine. I wholeheartedly believe that activities carried out with parents are far more superior than just reading. This would even help a child to have a better bonding with a parent. I would also state that there should be some limitations led out. I don't know what you mean here by led out. I don't like that. Led by the parents, so that the child should not spend more time on the games and other activities. Should also focus on the studies in their school. Okay, it's fine. I kind of cringe when I see new ideas presented in the conclusion. New ideas should never be printed in the conclusion. They should only belong in the body paragraphs. So basically, your introduction and conclusion are really just a rehash of the things you've already said. So I wasn't really crazy about all of this thing about children's time on gadgets being restricted. All right, so you've done some good things. There are some areas that you need to improve. Now, of course, what you need to do is you need to correct these essays based on what you heard in this correction. You then need to create an error correction list where you write down the mistakes you made and then next to each mistake what the corrected version is, and send all of this back to us with your new essays, of course. Try to do this within the next day or so we can keep the momentum going and you don't forget anything. So go ahead, write your new essays, correct these, error correction list. I'm here, I'm waiting, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to write. So good luck with your next writing assignment.